Hello, 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 and welcome to Everyone's a Storyteller. I'm Dr. Dane T. Jones, and I'm serving as host. This channel supports the Young Performers program of the Ensemble Theater. Now, while we're not an official channel for the theater, we love, well, can I just say it? I love this theater. And so there are different individuals who are leaders in our community who we are taking the time to interview with and to let them have their flowers while they are here. We want to brag on some people who are taking the time to spend time with us and to teach our children in the Young Performers program that everyone is a storyteller and everyone has a story worth telling. And so today I have a very special guest. She is a beautiful woman inside and out, and I'm so elated to be able to introduce her to some of you and remind others of you of why she's so special. All right, and so Miss Adams, please introduce yourself and share your title with us, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jones, and thank you for having me here today. My name
Sure.
is Rose Y. Adams. The Y stands for Yvette, and I'm a Houston-based photographer and writer.
So thank
Oh,
you.
and and I
Yes.
guess I should add a retired educator.
You've joined the club. You've joined the Retired Education Club. Welcome, welcome to the club.
Thank you.
And so, well, tell us what it's like in your present position, and also please feel free to share how you are in the community now with your arts.
Oh, okay. So, as I mentioned, I'm both a writer and a photographer, and the work that I do, I hope for it to be impactful to the community, specifically the Black community. I've done a number of exhibitions based on Houston area people or individuals who have their own stories to tell, who have made certain accomplishments, what have you. And once I retired, I started, well, actually, before I retired, I had started working on a photography project called Luminosity, and it highlights individuals who grew up in Northeast Houston. So I thought that was really important, seeing the changes that the district is currently undergoing. And I wanted the children who live in Northeast Houston to know that they have an opportunity to accomplish things in the way that these individuals who are featured have done. So, it's purely inspirational. We've One unique thing about those particular photographs is that each individual featured was photographed in front of the street sign on the street where they grew up. So that's one. The exhibition that I'm currently doing now is called American Creole. And really, those words don't go together. But I'm descended from Creoles or Creole, Louisiana Creoles per se. And I just wanted to focus on the heritage for varied reasons. So those are the two things. And then next, as far as my writing is concerned, I've written a number of short stories, which will be put into a book, compiled into a book. So that's my next thing.
Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Well, how do you, and you've already given such a rich response, but if you wanted to add to that, how do you use storytelling in your present position, whether it's writing or whether it's photography? How do you generally use it? Is it inspirational? Is it persuasive? How do you
Yeah.
make use of storytelling?
So the storytelling that I do uh, in my work, both photography um, and writing, I hope to inspire people. So I guess I would say that it is indeed inspirational. There's always a moral to it. There's always a reason for doing it. And then each person, so if we go to the photography side, each person has his or her own story to tell. So it's just not about just taking a picture, but with luminosity, so to speak, it's more about what was the path to my success. And with American Creole, it is purely about, okay, what is my heritage? Where did I come from? What were my experiences as being a Creole person?
Oh,
So
that's
does
excellent.
that answer it? Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. And in your response, I was even hearing sort of meta stories, since when you're creating the purpose of your artwork, whether it's photography or whether it's writing, you already have a story in mind, but you said you're making room for other stories and they fit. So I was thinking like meta stories, stories within stories. So
Yes.
that's excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
that. All right. So our next question is, can you give an example of how you've used storytelling to turn a challenging situation into a successful testimonial in either your professional life or your personal life?
There's a story that I tell all the time. So I'm a member of Our Mother Mercy Catholic Church. And I think the first time I told this story publicly was during the women's retreat. And I have since written it down for documentation purposes. But it's all about an experience that I had that was a challenging one that I was unaware of. Um, do you want me to tell the story? Do you want me to tell the story?
That is up to you, whatever your comfort level is
Oh, okay.
in your
So,
sharing. Mhm.
okay. So, an experience that I had on the subway en route to. I was in New York City. It was the first time I was riding the subway by myself, and some friends were like, you have to have a certain demeanor when you're on the subway, and do not talk because they will know that you're not from there, because whether you believe it or not, you do have a southern accent, a southern drawl, so to speak. So just kind of look straight ahead, don't be friendly, just concentrate on where you're going. That's what I was told. Okay. So um and I'm bringing up that story because I recently retold it to, like I said, I told it through a women's retreat the first time, but recently, a couple of months ago, I was doing some volunteering after the storm barrel, and I was volunteering with a group of young Mormon women. And for some reason, they asked me to give an example of how God was real in my life. So that's the story that, popped up in my head. Okay, tell them the New York story. So in it, I'm going to photograph a a jazz musician. His name was Illinois Jacquette, who was from Houston, who was in Stormy Weather with Lena Horne. So this was around the early 2000s. And I was loaded with a lot of very expensive camera equipment in a backpack, and I was on my way to the subway station, and this gentleman handed me a card, what I thought was a card. And it was like a business card, and it had Korean Christian Church on the front. And on the back, or a part of it, was a mirror. So, like a little cosmetic mirror. So, I just took it to be polite. He was handing me something. I was en route to the subway station, and I took it and looked at it and just put it in my jacket pocket and continued along the way. So made it to St. Albans, New York on the subway, following the directions that were given to me by Mr. Jackett's companion. Had a great time there. He grew up in Houston, actually, and a part of the Creole community. So everything is kind of full circle with what I do. And on my way back, I was on the subway. It was late because I had such a good time over there. They fed me and they gave me this all this great hospitality after I photographed and interviewed him, right? And heard his story. And so on my way back, I was on the subway and a very nice looking man had on a turtleneck similar to this in a black jacket. And he sat across the aisle from me. And he said, "Hi." And, I broke the first rule that I was told. I say hi. So, of course, immediately he knew I was not a New Yorker. And so he had this glaze gaze that was like a little bit unnerving. And he asked, "So what do you have in the bag?" And I said, "Oh, books." And I got up and moved to another car, which he followed me, of course. And so I said, "Okay." I wasn't really frightened, but I knew I had a situation. And so shortly thereafter, the train stopped. It's kind of, okay, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? So something said, "Don't get off at your stop, get off where there's the most people." So that would have been like West 34th near Macy's, one of those stops along that route. And so I said, "Okay, I'm going to get out over there. Even though it's late, I know there's going to be a lot of people there, what have you. I won't be isolated." So the train stopped, and three young women got on the train. And they were all really giddy, like they were getting ready to go out and they were excited about that. And one of them looked at me and she said, "You have a mirror." She didn't ask, "Do you have a mirror?" I know she specifically said, "You have a mirror." So I was really focused on the guy, but I heard what she said. And I said, "Oh, yeah, I do." Because she wanted to put on some lipstick or something. And I said, "Oh, yeah." So I reached in my pocket. And when I pulled it out, I read the card again. And it was Korean Christian Church, "Fear not, for I am with thee." So I think that's what Isaiah 13:10. Don't quote me on that. I know it's Isaiah,
Okay.
but
It is.
it goes, "Fear not, for I am with thee," etc., etc. Okay. And so it was at that point I knew God was with me.
Yes.
So I, threw the mirror, took the mirror and threw it across the aisle to her so I could return my attention back to the guy
Mhm.
and prepare to leave. So she used it, put on the lipstick, and threw it back to me. And I it was a stop where I was wanting to get off. I got up, and of course, he followed me. And the three women, young women, they just turned around and looked at me. I didn't say
Mm.
anything. So when I got off, there's like a turnstile that went all the way up to the ceiling. And so as I was getting ready to push to go out of the subway station, I hadn't exactly touched it. I was getting ready to push, and it starts spinning around in the opposite direction. And out came this very tall police officer. He didn't even look at me. He looked straight at the guy. He didn't say a word. And the guy looked at me and he looked at the officer and he walked off in the opposite direction. So, I went on and, went on out and
Yeah.
walked home. I'm sorry, walked back to my hotel, you know, with no fear at all. So um, that's a story that I tell um, as a way of sharing with people how God always has your back even when you don't know it. So when I got the card from the gentleman, I had no idea that I would be reading it and it would be a message. At least that's what I interpreted as a message from him, like,
Yes.
"Fear not, I got this." you know and so I like telling those kinds of stories,
Yes.
so that and, it strengthens my faith, but hopefully it strengthens the faith of others. So when I last told it to these young Mormon women, they were like, "Yeah, we get it."
Mm,
So,
absolutely, absolutely.
I know I kind
So,
of.
oh, what a story. I both hate and love that you encountered that, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? I hate that you felt you were in danger or but knew you could have been in danger. But I love that you were able to have the message, to see the message in enough time, and to feel more empowered and protected. So thank you so much for sharing that with me and with our viewers. That's a beautiful testimonial about storytelling. All right, so our next question is, what techniques do you use to ensure the stories that you tell resonate with your target audience?
Okay. So, I'm a graduate of Texas Southern University, the School of Communication. Yay! I was a journalism major. And, anytime you're being trained as a writer or a journalist, you're always taught to write in third person. However, with the stories that I'm telling these days, I always write in first person. And I think that because I do that, the stories resonate more with people. At least that's what I'm told. They can relate to them better because they're personal, and um, I use a lot of just like with this story. I use like details, like okay, he was wearing this, and we were on the train, and I was going this there, and so when I write stories, I always kind of paint a picture of
Yeah,
the total environment. So some of the stories that I've written lately have a lot to do with New Orleans and experiences that I've had there. So when I share them, especially with people who are from New Orleans, and I'm talking this crosses over race, age, everybody can relate. Male, female, everybody can relate. And it's because I think I use a lot of detail, and I write from a personal point of view as opposed to a third person, a person
wonderful.
looking outward. So,
Yes, yes. So in third person, it's more formal, and you found that when it's first person, you can be more relatable. So
right.
thank you. Yes, thank you for sharing that with our audience. All right. So the next question is, what impact have you seen storytelling have on your audience's engagement and retention of material?
The stories that I have released and the feedback that I've gotten from individuals, it does my heart good when they can recite something that was written,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
something that was written and just say how they related to it, or they were like, if I write a series so and I release certain pieces, I've been told that okay, they're like this and they're waiting for the next thing, kind of cliffhanger kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So that's basically the kind of feedback that I've gotten from people on the effect of my writing. So that's very encouraging because you don't
That
know
is.
until people actually tell you.
That's right. You would have no idea until they tell you. So I'm so glad that they're giving you feedback. But
Yeah,
that does mean that what you're putting on paper is resonating with them for them
right,
to retain it.
right.
So that's great. That's just feel good stuff. Thank you. That is awesome. That is awesome. All right. And so here's the next question. What ethical considerations should one keep in mind when using storytelling in one's career?
So when I write in first person, I present the work as fiction, but really it's based on my like own personal experiences. And I may make up some stuff here and there. But, I'm very careful. Okay, one thing, don't use names. Don't use,
Right?
unless you're doing a documentary or some non-fictional piece of work, you know. So one thing I don't use that. I usually really don't name my characters. I use pronouns. He,
Oh,
she, you know, which isn't like,
yes.
I mean, probably correct, but you know, sometimes you have to step outside of the traditional rules that we've been taught. And I see that even in that, I guess my concern would be, do they get confused some kind of way, you know, because I'm not using names, but um, you know, it seems like they do follow, you know, they're able to follow with that. So in the future, though, when I start really publishing my work outside of online, I will use names. Not
Okay.
real names, though. Use.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And so then we'll see your growth, if you will, on how you are changing your style as
Yeah,
you move along. Yes,
that's
I
a
think
good.
it's so important that we just continue to grow, right?
Right,
To
right.
me,
That's a good
that's
way
what
of
life
putting.
is. Yes, we try out a little something, something, see if it sticks to the wall. So that's great. I'm excited to see what else you'll be doing, how you'll be adding to your writing and to your photography.
Thank
All
you.
right, so I have the last question for you. And it is lastly, do you have any news that you'd like to share with our audience members about your work?
Yes. So I mentioned before about what's the age group of the. Let me ask you this: what's the age group of the children, the students?
6 to 17.
6 to 17. I don't know if they've had these experiences yet, but nonetheless, the current photography exhibition that's up is called American Creole. I mentioned that earlier, and
Yes.
it's at Mount Vernon United Methodist Church, 1501 Jensen Drive, and Houston, Texas. Here in Houston, Texas, and it opened on Juneteenth. It'll be up a while before it travels to other places like Louisiana. But basically, as far as my photography is concerned at this stage, I'm examining diversity that exists in the Black community. So when we think of the Black community and the Black experience, what have you, I want to showcase, so to speak, how Black people aren't just one thing. We have varied beliefs, traditions, cultural norms, what have you. So, American Creole is reflective of that. It, it basically came from, of course, you know, I mentioned Creole is part of my heritage on my maternal side. And it wasn't really something initially that I wanted to address, but I felt a need to after meeting a gentleman in the library who um, did not identify as being Black. He identified as being Creole only. And if you looked at him, you would categorize him as a Black man. So he went into depth about that. And I wanted to show that, you know, he looked a particular way. And the way that he looked, I'm talking about his appearance, is probably when you talk about Creole people, his look would, you would categorize him as such. But Creole people, like the Black community, you know, they look a lot of different ways. So just within the Creole community, they're not all light skinned with wavy hair or straight hair. You know, they're dark. Some have hair coils like mine. And so I wanted to give everybody or people that have that heritage an opportunity to be seen. We all want to be seen and recognized. So that's currently what's out there. You can see it only on Sundays during service. So that's from probably about 10 o'clock to 12:30, or by appointment. So, call the church or call me at 832-660-6690 if you have an interest in seeing it while it's still in Fifth Ward. So that's probably the only thing that I want to promote right now. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you, and congratulations on that installation as well. I hope that people come from far and wide to see it, and to bask in the different representation that you are sharing with them from your culture.
Thank you.
Well, well, that is all that we have for today. I am just, again, I'm so elated that you took some time to share with me and our young performers about what storytelling is in your life. Well, all right. So that is it for today. I hope that you have enjoyed this interview with Miss Rose Yvette Adams. She is truly one of Houston's gems. And until
Oh,
next
thank you.
time, I'm Dr. Dane T. Jones, host of Everyone's a Storyteller. And please know that your story is important too.